6 months after the first shots were fired, the war was over. Not because both sides had grown tired of fighting, but because the hegemony alliance had simply ceased to exist. Of the 12 species that had once ruled the galaxy, 3 had surrendered completely, 2 had been driven to extinction by their own desperate tactics, and the rest were begging for mercy. Admiral Ji-Woo Park, promoted from captain after his successful escape from the peace talks, stood on the bridge of his new flagship New Seoul. Through the massive windows, he could see the ruins of what had once been the hegemony's greatest military base. Human engineers were already working to rebuild it into something better. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from 4 more star systems," reported his communications officer. "They're asking for protection from the remaining hegemony loyalists." Ji-Woo nodded. "Grant them protection, but make sure they understand our terms." The terms were simple and revolutionary. Any species that wanted to join humanity's new alliance had to abandon the old ways of thinking. No more claims that age gave a right to rule over others. No more oppression of younger civilizations. No more wars of conquest disguised as peacekeeping missions. President Yoon Ji-shin had announced the formation of the Terran Commonwealth 3 months ago, when it became clear that humanity had won. But unlike the hegemony, the Commonwealth was based on cooperation rather than domination. "We're not here to replace one empire with another," she had said in her address to the galaxy. "We're here to prove that different species can work together as equals." The response had been overwhelming. Dozens of species that had been crushed under hegemony rule applied to join the Commonwealth. They brought with them new technologies, new ideas, and new perspectives that made humanity stronger. Ambassador Sang-hoon Park, Ji-Woo's cousin, was handling the diplomatic side of the transition. His office on Earth had become the busiest place in the galaxy as former enemies lined up to negotiate their surrender and integration into the new order. The Zentorians want to contribute their weather control technology to the Commonwealth, he reported to President Shin during their daily briefing. In exchange, they're asking for protection from the few hegemony holdouts still causing trouble in their sector. "What do our scientists think of their technology?" the president asked. "Dr. Huna believes it could help us terraform hostile worlds much faster than before. Combined with our rapid construction techniques, we could create new homes for displaced populations throughout the galaxy." This was the most remarkable thing about humanity's victory. Instead of seeking revenge against their former enemies, humans were offering them a chance to start over. Species that had once looked down on humans were now eager to learn from them. Commander Do-Yoon Yoon was overseeing the integration of former hegemony fleets into the Commonwealth Navy. It was delicate work, requiring both technical expertise and diplomatic skill. "The crystalline ships are incredibly powerful," he reported to Admiral Ji-Woo, "but their crews don't know how to think independently. We're having to retrain them completely." "Are they willing to learn?" Ji-Woo asked. "More than willing. Eager, even. Many of them are saying they never realized how limiting their old system was until they saw how human crews operate." The transformation wasn't just military. Throughout the galaxy, the rigid hierarchies that had defined alien society for thousands of years were breaking down. Young aliens who had been told to wait centuries for their turn to contribute were suddenly finding themselves in positions of importance, based on their abilities rather than their age. Dr. Hyuna Choi had established the Commonwealth Institute for Cultural Exchange, where representatives from different species worked together to solve problems that had seemed impossible under the old system. "We're making breakthrough discoveries almost daily," she reported. "When you combine Zentorian weather control with Thoraxian mining techniques and human innovation, you get solutions no single species could have developed alone." Engineer Yuna Song was leading the technological revolution. Her research teams now included brilliant minds from across the galaxy, all working together to push the boundaries of what was possible. The hegemony kept different species separated to maintain control, she explained to visiting Commonwealth officials. "But when you let them share knowledge freely, the results are amazing." Her latest project combined human rapid-fire weapons with crystalline energy-focusing technology and Thoraxian durability engineering. The resulting defense systems were so advanced that no force in the galaxy could threaten Commonwealth worlds. But the most important changes weren't technological or military. They were philosophical. Captain Minho Jeon was now training mixed crews of humans and aliens aboard Commonwealth vessels. The difference in performance was dramatic. Alien crews used to wait for orders from higher up the chain of command, he observed. Now they're learning to make decisions based on the situation in front of them. Their reaction times have improved by hundreds of %. Colonel Junsu Lim had transitioned from special operations to peacekeeping. His teams were helping to maintain order in former hegemony space while new governments established themselves. The biggest challenge isn't military resistance, he reported. It's helping alien populations learn to think for themselves after thousands of years of being told what to do. Not everyone was happy with the changes. Some hegemony loyalists had retreated to distant systems, where they continued to practice the old ways. They launched occasional raids against Commonwealth worlds, but these attacks only served to demonstrate how much stronger the new alliance had become. Admiral Taewon Ryu commanded the Commonwealth forces that dealt with these holdouts. His approach was both firm and merciful. We give them one chance to surrender and join the Commonwealth, he explained. If they refuse, we defeat them quickly and decisively. But we always offer them another chance to reconsider. Most eventually chose to join rather than fight a war they couldn't win. The transformation of the galaxy took 3 years to complete, but when it was finished, the result was beyond what anyone had imagined. The Commonwealth included over 200 species, each contributing their unique strengths to the common good. President Yoon Ji-shin stood before the Commonwealth Assembly on the 5th anniversary of humanity's victory. Representatives from across the galaxy filled the massive hall, species that had once been mortal enemies now working side by side. When the peace talks failed 5 years ago, she began, the hegemony thought they were forcing humanity to choose between surrender and extinction. They never considered that there was a third option, showing the galaxy a better way to live. The applause that followed included sounds from dozens of different species, but the message was the same. Freedom had triumphed over tyranny. Innovation had defeated stagnation, and the future belonged to those brave enough to fight for it. Admiral Jiwoo Park watched from the gallery as the assembly voted to approve new exploration, missions that would push the boundaries of known space even further. Young species would lead these missions, their enthusiasm and fresh perspectives driving discoveries that the old hegemony would never have imagined. What are you thinking about? Ambassador Sang-hoon asked, joining his cousin at the viewing window. Jiwoo smiled as he watched the diverse crowd of representatives below. I'm thinking about what we've built here. The hegemony ruled through fear and control for thousands of years. We've replaced it with something based on hope and cooperation in just 5 years. Do you think it will last? Sang-hoon wondered. Look around, Jiwoo replied. Every species here has tasted freedom now. They've seen what they can accomplish when they're not held back by arbitrary rules and ancient prejudices. Why would any of them want to go back to the old way? Through the assembly hall's windows they could see the stars, not as distant lights to be conquered but as homes to be explored, understood, and protected. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and for the first time in its history, every species was free to discover what lay beyond the next star. Humanity had been called dangerous by the hegemony, and they were right. But not in the way they expected. Humans were dangerous to tyranny, dangerous to oppression, and dangerous to those who believed that power gave them the right to control others. The peace talks had failed, but something far better had taken their place, a galaxy where every species could reach for the stars. The war that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. For thousands of years, conflicts between species had followed predictable patterns. Fleets would meet in open space, exchange fire until one side retreated, and then negotiate terms. Battles were formal affairs with unwritten rules that everyone understood. Humans broke every rule. Captain So-Young-nam led the first wave of attacks on hegemony supply lines. Her stealth frigate Ghost of Incheon struck a Zentaurian convoy carrying weapons to the front lines. But instead of destroying the ships and leaving, she did something that shocked the aliens. Boarding parties go, she ordered. Human marines in advanced combat suits swarmed aboard the alien vessels. They didn't kill the crews. Instead, they captured the ships intact and turned the weapons around. Within hours, Zentaurian weapons were being used against Zentaurian forces. This is against all military tradition, protested Admiral Vorthak when he learned about the captures. You cannot turn our own weapons against us. Watch us, Captain Nam replied over the open channel. Throughout hegemony space, similar scenes played out. Human forces didn't just destroy enemy fleets, they captured them, reprogrammed them and added them to their own forces. Every battle made humanity stronger while weakening their enemies. Colonel Junsu Lim was leading the ground war in ways that terrified alien commanders. His special forces teams didn't attack military targets in the expected manner. They studied each alien species and found their unique weaknesses. The Thoraxian Empire was proud of their heavily armored warriors, but Lim's teams discovered that their hearing was extremely sensitive. Human sonic weapons turned their greatest strength into a vulnerability. Thoraxian soldiers, unable to hear orders or coordinate attacks, fell into confusion and panic. The crystalline beings thought their planet-wide shield networks made them invulnerable, but engineer Yuna Song had developed quantum bombs that could phase through any barrier. When the bombs exploded inside crystalline cities, the aliens realized that no defense was perfect. Target their government buildings, Lim ordered his teams. We don't want to hurt civilians, but we need their leaders to understand that nowhere is safe. The psychological impact was devastating. Alien species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia suddenly found themselves helpless against human tactics. Every plan they made was countered by something they hadn't expected. Captain Min Ho Jeon commanded a fleet of human ships that had been disguised as cargo vessels. When alien patrols approached to inspect them, the hidden weapons emerged and destroyed entire squadrons before they could send a warning. "Sir, we've eliminated another patrol group," his tactical officer reported. "Good. Send a message to their fleet command," Minho ordered. "Tell them that every ship they send out here disappears. Let them wonder how many more traps we've set." The aliens were learning that humans didn't fight like other species. Where alien commanders followed rigid battle plans, human captains adapted to each situation. Where alien soldiers obeyed orders without question, human troops used their own judgment to find new solutions. Admiral Taewon Ryu was coordinating the largest human offensive in history. His target was the Hegemony Central Command Station, a massive fortress that had never been successfully attacked. "All fleets, this is Admiral Ryu," he broadcast. "Remember, we're not just fighting for victory. We're fighting to prove that freedom is stronger than tyranny." The battle for the command station lasted 3 days. The Hegemony threw everything they had at the human fleet, but it wasn't enough. Human ships danced around the massive alien vessels, striking at weak points and vanishing before the enemy could respond. "How are they moving so fast?" demanded the Hegemony fleet commander. "Their ships are smaller and more maneuverable than ours," his tactical officer replied, "and their pilots seem to make decisions faster than our computer systems can track." The truth was even more frightening. Human pilots weren't following computer-generated battle plans. They were thinking for themselves, reacting to each moment as it happened. This kind of individual initiative was impossible for alien species that had been trained to follow orders without question. Dr. Huna Choi was analyzing alien psychology from the command center on Earth. Her research had revealed why humans were winning battles that should have been impossible. "The alien species have become too comfortable with their power," she reported to Admiral Gayung Kang. "They've spent thousands of years following the same strategies. They can't adapt when someone does something unexpected." "What about their individual soldiers?" the Admiral asked. "That's their weakness. Alien military training focuses on obedience and following orders. Our training teaches soldiers to think for themselves and take initiative. When their command structure breaks down, their forces collapse." This was exactly what was happening throughout the galaxy. Human commando teams weren't just capturing alien facilities. They were disrupting communication networks and command hierarchies. Without clear orders from above, alien forces found themselves paralyzed. The most dramatic example came when Colonel Lim's team infiltrated the crystalline homeworld's military command center. Instead of destroying it, they used the aliens' own communication systems to broadcast false orders. "All crystalline fleets, return to home base immediately," the fake orders commanded. "Abandon all current operations and defend the homeworld." Thousands of crystalline ships, following what they thought were legitimate orders, withdrew from battles they were winning. By the time their commanders realized the deception, human forces had captured the positions they abandoned. "This is dishonest warfare," protested High Arbiter Quelks during an emergency Hegemony Council meeting. "This is effective warfare," replied Admiral Kang when she intercepted the transmission. "We're not fighting for honor. We're fighting for survival." The tide of war turned completely when Captain Jiwoo Park escaped from the meeting station with crucial intelligence. The alien delegates had been so focused on their defeat that they forgot to maintain security around their human prisoners. Commander Doyen had used his engineering knowledge to override the station's systems. "Sir, I've unlocked the communication array and downloaded their military databases. We now have the locations of every secret hegemony base and weapon facility." Within hours of receiving this intelligence, human forces struck at targets throughout alien space. Bases that had been hidden for centuries were suddenly under attack. Weapon factories that had supplied hegemony fleets for generations went up in flames. The aliens began to panic. Species that had never experienced defeat were watching their mighty empire crumble. Some tried to negotiate separate peace agreements with humanity. Others retreated to their homeworlds and prepared for siege. President Yoon Ji-shin addressed the galaxy from Earth's capital. Her words broadcast on every communication network that humans had captured. "People of the galaxy," she began, "for too long you have lived under the rule of species who believed that age gave them the right to control others. Today that age ends. Humanity offers a new path forward, one based on freedom, cooperation, and respect for all intelligent life." The response was immediate. Dozens of younger species that had been oppressed by the hegemony began to revolt. They had watched humans fight impossible odds and win. Now they wanted their own freedom. The war that had started as 12 species against one became a galaxy-wide revolution. Everywhere, the old order was being challenged by those who had been told they were too young, too weak, or too primitive to deserve respect. Engineer Yuna Song watched from her laboratory as reports poured in of hegemony defeats across the galaxy. Her weapons had helped to turn the tide, but she knew the real victory was something deeper. "We didn't just beat them with better technology," she told her assistant. "We beat them with better ideas. The idea that every species deserves freedom. The idea that innovation is more powerful than tradition. The idea that the future belongs to those brave enough to fight for it." As the 6th month of war began, it was clear that the hegemony alliance was finished. Their fleets were scattered, their leaders were in hiding, and their member species were abandoning them to join humanity's growing coalition. The galaxy was burning, but from those fires something new was being born, something that would be better than what came before. The alien laughter died quickly when they realized Jiwoo wasn't joking. Chancellor Vorthak's cold smile faded as he studied the human captain's face. "You would doom your entire species for pride?" he asked. "We would fight for our freedom," Jiwoo replied calmly. "But you've made one big mistake." "And what is that?" High Arbiter Quelix demanded, her crystalline body flickering with irritation. "You think we came here unprepared." At that moment, something impossible happened. The station's communication systems, which had been blocking all human transmissions for 2 days, suddenly activated. A clear signal reached Earth and every human colony simultaneously. Admiral Seung-ho Lee appeared on screens throughout the galaxy. His message was short and simple. "All human forces, this is Admiral Lee. Protocol Taeguk is now active. I repeat, Protocol Taeguk is active. Show them what we're really made of." The alien delegates looked confused. Vorthak turned to his communications officer. "What is Protocol Taeguk?" The officer's face was pale. "We don't know, sir. It wasn't in any of our intelligence files." On Earth, Director Woo Jin-ha smiled as he watched the aliens scramble to understand what was happening. For 30 years, he had been preparing for this moment. Every human colony had received sealed orders years ago. Every ship captain had emergency protocols locked in their safes. Every research station had projects that officially didn't exist. "Activate the ghost fleets," he ordered. Across human space, things that shouldn't exist began to appear. Asteroid mining stations revealed hidden weapons. Peaceful research vessels dropped their disguises and showed massive gun arrays. Empty space began to fill with ships that had been invisible to alien sensors. Admiral Gayung Kang stood in the secret command center built deep beneath Seoul. For decades, this facility had been hidden from alien satellites and spies. Today it would coordinate humanity's real response. "Report on fleet status," she ordered. "Ghost Fleet Alpha is moving toward the Centaurian border. Ghost Fleet Beta is intercepting the Crystalline Task Force near New Beijing. All stealth frigates are in position around alien supply lines." Captain So-young Nam commanded one of those stealth frigates. Her ship, Ghost of Incheon, had been following a hegemony supply convoy for 3 days. The aliens had no idea she was there. All ships, this is Ghost Leader, she transmitted on the secure human frequency. Light them up. Throughout the galaxy, alien fleets that thought they were safely moving toward human colonies suddenly found themselves under attack by ships that appeared from nowhere. Human vessels struck like lightning, destroying alien supply ships and vanishing before the enemy could respond. Back on the station, the alien delegates were receiving frantic reports from their fleets. "Sir, we've lost contact with Battle Group 7, one reported to Vorthak. "The supply convoy to Sector 9 has been destroyed," another added. "How is this possible?" High Arbiter Quelix demanded. "Our sensors showed only small human defense forces." Dr. Huna stood up with a smile. "That's because you only saw what we wanted you to see. Did you really think we spent 50 years in space without learning how to hide things from your sensors?" The truth was even more shocking than the aliens realized. While they had been studying human colonies and counting human ships, humanity had been building a secret military force. Hidden shipyards and asteroid belts had been producing vessels that never appeared on any official records. Camouflaged bases throughout human space had been training crews and developing new weapons. Engineer Yuna Song had spent 10 years designing humanity's secret weapon systems. While alien technology was powerful, it was also old and predictable. Human engineers had studied every alien ship design and found their weaknesses. "The Zentaurian shields can't handle rapid-fire projectiles," she had reported to the Secret Military Council. "Their energy barriers are designed to stop energy weapons, not physical bullets traveling at light speed." "What about the crystalline ships?" Admiral Kang had asked. "Their crystalline hulls are incredibly strong, but they shatter if you hit them at the right frequency. I've designed sonic weapons that will turn their armor into dust." Now those weapons were being used throughout the galaxy. Alien admirals who had never lost a battle were watching their mighty fleets fall to human tactics they had never seen before. Captain Minho Jeon commanded the experimental ship Docto's Vengeance. His vessel was smaller than most alien cruisers, but it carried weapons that could punch through any known armor. "Target their command ship," he ordered his crew. "Let's show them what human ingenuity looks like." The Docto's Vengeance fired a single shot from its experimental railgun. The projectile, accelerated to nearly light speed, passed through the alien ship's shields as if they weren't there. The command vessel exploded in a brilliant flash. "All alien ships, this is Captain John," he broadcast on an open frequency. "Surrender now and we'll let you retreat. Keep fighting and we'll send you home in boxes." But the real shock was yet to come. Colonel Junsu Lim led a team of commandos who specialized in impossible missions. While the alien fleets were being destroyed in space, his people were already on alien homeworlds. "Strike Team 1 is in position at the Zentaurian capital," he reported. "Strike Team 2 has reached the Crystalline Communications Center. All teams ready for simultaneous attack." The commandos didn't target civilian populations. Instead, they struck at military facilities, communication networks, and government buildings. Alien species that had felt safe on their homeworlds suddenly found human soldiers in their most secure locations. How did they get past our defenses? Vorthak screamed into his communicator. The answer was simple. Humans had been preparing for this war since the day they joined the Galactic Confederation. Every diplomatic mission had included spies. Every trade agreement had created opportunities for intelligence gathering. Every cultural exchange had mapped alien cities and identified key targets. On the station, the alien delegates were in chaos. Reports poured in of defeats throughout their space. Fleets destroyed, bases captured, leaders arrested by human special forces. "This is impossible," High Arbiter Quelk said, her glow dimming with shock. "How could a primitive species do this to us?" Ambassador Minji stood up with dignity. "Because you underestimated us. You saw humans as weak newcomers who would bow to your demands. You never considered that we might be preparing for your attack." Jiwoo activated his communicator. The signal reached Earth instantly now that human forces had taken control of the communication networks. "President Yoonji Shin, this is Captain Park. The aliens have rejected peace and chosen war. How should we respond?" President Shin appeared on the screen, her voice calm and determined. "Captain Park, you have full authority to negotiate on behalf of humanity. Make sure they understand that the age of hegemony rule is over." Jiwoo turned to face the alien delegates. Many of them looked terrified. Others seemed confused. All of them looked defeated. "Here are humanity's terms," he announced. "All hegemony fleets will return to your home systems immediately. You will release all political prisoners and stop oppressing younger species, and you will never again threaten any world with destruction simply because you want to maintain control. You cannot dictate terms to us, Vorthak protested. We just did, Commander Doyen replied. Your fleets are burning. Your homeworlds are under attack. Your 1,000-year reign of terror is over. Through the station's windows they could see the alien fleets beginning to retreat. Ships that had come to destroy humanity were limping away, their proud formations broken and scattered. The galaxy has changed, Dr. Huna said quietly. The old order is dead, and humanity is going to build something better in its place. High Arbiter Quelx, ancient and proud, bowed her head in defeat. What do you want from us? Jiwoo smiled. We want you to learn that freedom isn't something you can take away from people, and we want you to remember that humans never start fights, but we always finish them. The conference room buzzed with alien voices as the delegates took their seats. Jiwoo studied each face, trying to read their intentions. Dr. Huna had taught him that different species showed emotion in different ways, but the meaning was always the same. These beings thought they had already won. Chancellor Vorthak stood at the head of the alien delegation, his gray hands folded behind his back. Let us begin with the facts, he said in his cold voice. Humanity has existed in space for barely 50 years. In that time, you have claimed 17 star systems, built 43 colonies, and expanded your population by 3 billion souls. High Arbiter Quelix, the ancient crystalline being, spoke next. Her voice sounded like wind through broken glass. This expansion is unacceptable. Young species must learn patience and restraint. You take resources that belong to older, wiser civilizations. Ambassador Minji leaned forward. With respect, those systems were uninhabited. We harmed no one by settling them. Several alien delegates made sounds that Jiwoo recognized as laughter. A bulky creature from the Thraxian Empire spoke up. Uninhabited by intelligent life, perhaps. But the hegemony reserves the right to claim any system for future use. You mean you want to keep them empty forever? Jiwoo asked. We want to keep them safe from species that don't understand their proper role, Vorthak replied. Which brings us to our generous offer. The main screen lit up with a star map of human space. Red lines began appearing, cutting through human territory like wounds. When the display finished, only 3 systems remained in human control. Humanity will retain Earth, Alpha Centauri, and New Sol, Vorthak announced. All other colonies will be evacuated and turned over to hegemony administration. Minji stood up so quickly her chair fell backward. You're asking us to abandon billions of people. We're not asking, High Arbiter Quelix said calmly. We're telling you what will happen. Dr. Huna was typing rapidly on her datapad, trying to stay calm. But Jiwoo could see the anger in her eyes. What about our military forces? She asked. Earth may maintain a small defense fleet, Vorthak replied. 20 ships maximum. All weapons must be approved by hegemony inspectors. Any technology deemed too advanced will be confiscated. Commander Doyen, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. You want us to become prisoners in our own home? We want you to become civilized, a snake-like delegate hissed. Your species is too violent and unpredictable to be allowed freedom. Jiwoo looked around the room. 12 species had united against one. Each alien delegate seemed confident that humanity would accept these terms. They had no idea what they were really asking for. We need time to consider your offer, Minji said, trying to buy them space to think. Vorthak checked a device on his wrist. You have 36 hours. At the end of that time, you will accept our terms or we will implement them by force. What does that mean? Jiwoo demanded. High Arbiter Quelix's crystalline body began to glow slightly. It means our combined fleets will reduce your colonies to ash, and Earth will surrender or burn with them. The session ended, and the aliens filed out, leaving the humans alone in the massive room. Jiwoo waited until the doors closed before speaking. They were never planning to negotiate, he said. This whole meeting is just for show. Doyen nodded grimly. While we're stuck here talking, their fleets are probably already moving toward our colonies. Huna looked up from her datapad. I've been monitoring the station's systems. They're not just preventing us from jumping to hyperspace. They're recording everything we say and do. We're supposed to be witnesses to our own defeat. Can we get a message to Earth? Minji asked. Not directly, Huna replied. But I might be able to hide a signal in our routine communications check. If I'm clever about it, they might not notice. Over the next few hours, they worked together to craft a coded message. To anyone listening, it would sound like a simple status report. But Earth Command would understand the real meaning. The talks were a trap, and war was coming. While they worked, Doyen used the station's guest facilities to gather intelligence. He returned with troubling news. "I counted the alien ships outside," he reported. "Over 3,000 vessels, including their biggest dreadnoughts. If they're telling the truth about their 36-hour deadline, they're planning to attack human space the moment time runs out. Or sooner," Jiwoo said. "They might use our rejection as an excuse to start early." Hyuna had been studying the alien psychological profiles again. "There's something else. These species have been the dominant powers for thousands of years. They're used to younger races bowing to their demands immediately. Our refusal to surrender on the spot probably surprised them." "Good," Minji said fiercely. "Let them be surprised." The second day of talks was worse than the first. The aliens presented detailed plans for dismantling human civilization. They had lists of which human leaders would be arrested. They had schedules for relocating human populations. They had inventories of human technology that would be confiscated. "You've been planning this for years," Jiwoo realized. "Of course," Vorthak said with that cold smile. "Did you think we would allow a dangerous species like yours to grow unchecked forever?" "What makes us so dangerous?" Minji asked. "We've never attacked any of your worlds." "You learned too quickly," High Arbiter Quelix replied. "In 50 years you've developed technology that took us centuries to master. You adapt and innovate at a rate that threatens the natural order." "You mean it threatens your control?" Hyuna said quietly. The room fell silent. Several alien delegates exchanged glances. Finally, Vorthak spoke. "Control maintains peace. Peace maintains civilization. Your species represents chaos." As the talks continued, the humans began to notice something strange. The alien delegates kept checking their communication devices as if waiting for news. Some looked excited. Others seemed nervous. During a break, Doyen pulled Jiwoo aside. "I think some of their fleets have already started moving. They're not waiting for the deadline." That evening, confined to their guest quarters, the human delegation held a final planning session. They knew their next words might be the last message Earth ever received from them. "What do we tell them?" Minji asked. Jiwoo looked at his teammates. These were good people who had volunteered to represent humanity, knowing they might never return home. They deserved better than this trap, but they were here anyway. "We tell them the truth," he said. "The aliens want us to surrender everything we've built. They want us to give up our freedom, our colonies, our future, and they think we'll do it because we're outnumbered. Will we?" Doyen asked quietly. Jiwoo smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. "What do you think?" The final session began exactly 36 hours after the aliens had made their demands. Vorthak stood at the center of the room looking confident and cruel. "Have you reached a decision, humans?" Jiwoo stood up slowly. He looked at each alien delegate, memorizing their faces. Then he turned to the recording devices he knew were watching. "We have," he said clearly. "We reject your demands. Humanity will not surrender its colonies. We will not disarm our fleets. And we will never accept alien overseers telling us how to live." The aliens began to laugh again, but this time it sounded forced. "Then you choose extinction," Vorthak said. "We choose to fight for our freedom," Jiwoo replied. "And we choose to show this galaxy what happens when you corner a species that refuses to kneel." High Arbiter Quelix's glow intensified. "You cannot win. We outnumber you 1,000 to 1, Jiwoo smiled. "Then it should be a fair fight." Captain Jiwoo Park stood on the bridge of the starship Soul's Pride, watching the stars blur past as they jumped through hyperspace. He had fought in 3 wars and survived countless battles, but today felt different. Today, he was heading to peace talks that might decide the fate of all humanity. "Sir, we'll reach Nexus Prime in 6 hours," reported Commander Doyen Yoon, his trusted second-in-command. Doyen had been with him since the border wars, and Jiwoo could always count on him to speak the truth. Ambassador Minji Kim walked onto the bridge, her diplomatic robes rustling. She looked nervous, which made Jiwoo worry. Minji was one of Earth's best negotiators. If she was scared, things were worse than he thought. "Have you reviewed the alien demands again?" she asked. Jiwoo nodded. "They want to discuss humanity's place in the galaxy. They say we're expanding too fast and making other species nervous." Dr. Hyuna Choi looked up from her datapad. She was their expert on alien behavior and had spent years studying the 12 species that made up the Hegemony Alliance. "Something doesn't feel right about this," she said. "These species have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Why would they suddenly care what humans do?" The Hegemony Alliance was powerful. They had ships that could destroy planets, technology that seemed like magic, and they had been in space since before humans learned to make fire. Earth had only joined the Galactic Confederation 50 years ago, and most aliens still saw humans as primitive newcomers. "Maybe they're finally ready to accept us as equals," Minji suggested, but her voice didn't sound convinced. Yuna shook her head. "The Zentorians think we're dangerous because we learn too fast. The crystalline beings believe we're too young to deserve respect, and the others follow their lead. They don't want to talk to us. They want to control us." Admiral Sung-Ho Lee appeared on the main screen from Earth Command. His face was grim. "Jiwoo, I'm sending you classified intelligence. What we've learned is troubling." The data appeared on their screens. Intercepted alien communications showed massive fleet movements throughout Hegemony space. Ships were gathering near human colonies. Supply lines were being established for long-range operations. "They're preparing for war," Admiral Lee continued. "These peace talks might be a trap. The moment you sit down at that table, they could attack our worlds." Jiwoo felt his stomach tighten. He had suspected something like this, but seeing the proof made it real. "What are our orders, sir?" "Go to the talks. Represent humanity with honor. But remember, you're not just diplomats. You're witnesses. If they demand our surrender, the galaxy needs to see that we tried for peace." The communication ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Jiwoo looked at his team. Minji was pale but determined. Hyuna was already working on her datapad, probably analyzing alien psychology. Doyen was checking their ship's weapon systems. "Sir," Doyen said quietly, "our escort ships are reporting strange energy readings from the meeting station. It looks like they have some kind of jamming field that prevents hyperspace jumps. They want to make sure we can't run away," Jiwoo realized, "or call for help." As they traveled toward Nexus Prime, more intelligence reports came in. The alien demands were becoming clearer. They wanted humanity to give up most of their colonies. They wanted humans to destroy their military ships. They wanted Earth to accept alien supervisors who would control human technology. "It's not peace they want," Minji said after reading the latest reports. "It's surrender." Hyuna was studying the profiles of the alien negotiators they would meet. Chancellor Vorthak of the Zentorians will lead their side. He's known for being cruel and looking down on younger species. High Arbiter Quellex represents the crystalline beings. She's older than human civilization and thinks we're no more important than insects. "What about the others?" Jiwoo asked. "They'll follow Vorthak and Quelx. The hegemony has a strict hierarchy. The older species make decisions and the younger ones obey." The Soul's Pride dropped out of hyperspace near Nexus Prime. The meeting station was huge, built from materials that gleamed like jewels. It was beautiful and intimidating, designed to make visitors feel small and unimportant. 12 alien fleets surrounded the station. Each fleet was larger than Earth's entire navy. The message was clear. Humanity was outnumbered and outgunned. "Incoming transmission from the station," reported the communications officer. Chancellor Vorthak appeared on their screen. He was tall and thin with gray skin and cold blue eyes. When he spoke, his voice dripped with contempt. "Human vessel, you will dock at Bay 7. Your delegation will consist of no more than 4 individuals. You have 1 hour to prepare for the opening session." The transmission ended before Jiwoo could respond. "Friendly as always," Doyen muttered. As they prepared to dock, Jiwoo gathered his team. "Remember, we're not just representing Earth today. We're representing the idea that every species deserves respect and freedom. Whatever happens in there, we don't bow to anyone." Minji straightened her diplomatic sash. "What if they threaten to destroy Earth? Then we make sure the galaxy remembers that humans faced extinction with dignity," Jiwoo replied. The docking process was smooth, but Jiwoo noticed that their ship's systems were being scanned by alien technology. When they tried to test their communication equipment, nothing worked. They were truly cut off from Earth. Security escorts led them through corridors filled with alien artwork and symbols of power. Other species moved through the halls with confidence, but they all stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked curious, others looked hungry. The main conference room was enormous with a circular table at the center. 12 seats were arranged on one side for the alien delegates, 4 small chairs sat alone on the other side for the humans. As they took their seats, alien delegates began to arrive. Each species was different, but they all carried themselves like they owned the galaxy. They whispered among themselves and pointed at the humans like they were examining animals in a zoo. Finally, Chancellor Vorthak entered with High Arbiter Quelix. The room fell silent. Vorthak smiled, but it was the smile of a predator about to feed. "Welcome, humans, to your Judgment Day," he said. "We hope you're prepared to learn your place in our galaxy." Jiwoo stood up slowly. He looked around the room at the assembled alien powers, then back at Vorthak. "We're prepared to talk about humanity's future, but we'll never accept being anyone's servants." The aliens laughed. They thought human defiance was amusing. They would soon learn otherwise.